The afterlife may be the most pernicious aspect of religion, and I'm not just talking about the threat of hell. The threat of heaven is actually far, far worse. If this life is just a precursor, a preliminary to the great celestial get-together, then what I do with this life doesn't matter. Just so long as I jump through whatever hoops God has arbitrarily set up for his would-be guests, what I do with this life is, if you'll pardon the pun, immaterial. It doesn't really matter whether I write a great novel, fall in love, travel the world, appreciate Shakespeare, learn a foreign language, learn about the natural world, or walk on the moon. Provided I don't break any of the rules that would keep me out of heaven, then what difference does it make if I live my life passionately or just waste it watching SpongeBob SquarePants? Either way, I end up in heaven, and what I did with this life is irrelevant. Everything we do here, everything we experience in this life, pales in comparison to heaven. If there is a heaven, then all value in this life loses potency. Think about your endeavors. If you fail, no worries, you've got the rest of eternity to get it right. If you succeed, big deal, you had eternity to get it right. You were bound to sooner or later. But if you can walk the tightrope without a net, then you've accomplished something, even if you fall. I want my life, my successes and my failures, my pleasures and my pains to matter. They can't do that if they're completely outshined by the final act. Theists seem to think that if my life doesn't stretch on for eternity, then it can't have any meaning. They say, well, if there is no afterlife or no God, then your worth ends as soon as those who know you and love you die. But the fact that my life doesn't matter in the long run is exactly why it matters in the short term. Because it is finite, because it is limited, because it is precious, because nothing else will ever be me again. The fact that, like the proverbial snowflake, each unique being is here only for a short while and then gone forever is part of what makes life so important and so awe-inspiring. Yet if the ghost in this machine goes on to live forever, then the short term, this life, doesn't matter. Only the long term, the next life does. The only thing that makes anything precious, rare, or special is its finitude. A superabundance of anything makes that thing worthless. What makes my life mine is that it will end. And a large part of its purpose is coming to terms with that fact, with figuring it out for myself. Accordingly, Jesus' claim that I am the resurrection and the life, he that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live, and whosoever liveth and believeth in me shall never die, seems more like a curse than an enticement. Shortly before he died, Brandon Lee recited the following quote from Paul Bowles' novel, The Sheltering Sky, to an interviewer. Because we do not know when we will die, we get to think of life as an inexhaustible well. Yet everything happens only a certain number of times, and a very small number, really. How many more times will you remember a certain afternoon of your childhood? An afternoon that's so deeply a part of your being that you cannot even conceive of your life without it? Perhaps 4 or 5 times more? Perhaps not even that. How many more times will you get to watch the full moon rise? Perhaps 20. And yet it all seems so limitless. I don't know about you, but when I read those words, it makes me want to savor every moonrise, every sunset, every day. How could I do that? If I sincerely believed that I would get as many moonrises, as many sunsets, as many days as I want, how could I relish the water if life really were an inexhaustible well? To paraphrase Tom Stoppard, I don't want to go out the way I came in. I don't want the answers to be in the back of the book. Because this life is not a job interview. This life is not a dress rehearsal. This life is not a test of the emergency God caste system. This life is the only one you will ever get. Cherish it.